I wanted to ask you what you were experiencing prior to working with me. You signed up for a one-on-one 3-month program with me. Tell me what you were experiencing prior to signing up. I would love to know.
Yeah, I guess prior to signing up, I had started to introduce some self-care and spiritual practices myself. I was trying to gain a little bit of balance in my life. I had started to meditate. I'd started to make sure I had my yoga practice, all the things. And when I wanted to sign up with you, I think I knew that, my brain was still a little bit overthinking, overanalyzing. I could feel overwhelmed with things that were popping up for me. Work, relationships, communication wasn't amazing. It was a lot of just wanting to, at the time, was just really wanting to dive deeper in myself and kind of wanted to level up because I felt like I'd made so many discoveries already. So that's kind of where I was when I started, which is really interesting to what ended up kind of transpiring through our time together. Yeah.
I love that you said what ended up transpiring, because what we think we need is never what we actually need. What was showing up for you emotionally prior to signing up? Like, what were you experiencing? Was it overwhelm? Was it indecision? Was it fear? Like, what do you think was your base level emotion?
In hindsight now, I can answer that a little bit better. I think at the time I was feeling overwhelm, stress, a little bit of anxiety, fear, but I didn't recognize most of that before working together.
Do you think that you had any idea how it would go down prior to working with me versus now having actually worked with me for 3 months?
No.
Great. In a good way, I hope.
In a good way.
And if you can explain that a little further, I'd love to hear your perspective.
Of course, it kind of all worked out perfectly how we ended up working together. Like, it all just synced up and it was just like step. And then we, got to meet and everything, which was amazing. So it was kind of just one of those things that was meant to be, I think. But like I said, I really just thought I was coming into it to kind of just dive deeper into myself. And, there was a few things that I wanted to work on, but just in general, I just wanted to go deeper. Looking back now is like really calling myself out on true limiting beliefs that I was having, actual trauma that I'd gone through that was affecting my ability to connect, to communicate, to love, and to receive all of those things as well. It was choosing truth over ignorance, like you always tell me, Brooke, which again, I didn't realize I was doing. So for me, it was actually just an absolute eyes being uncovered moment for me working with you. Yeah.
And I would love, if you are open to it, for you to share some of the life changes that you've had in those 3 months, what you did decide to do for yourself.
Yeah. So during those 3 months, I ended a 9.5-year relationship, which is huge. And I don't know if I would have been able to truly get to the bottom of what my intuition was trying to tell me without working with you, maybe eventually, but I think it might have been a lot more of a drawn out process. Being able to actually connect to myself and really understand what I was going through and allow myself to grieve and feel all the feelings, which again, I probably would have maybe reverted to my coping mechanisms had I not been able to for you to be able to mirror where I was at, kind of thing, and be given the tools to kind of work through that as well.
I also think it's really helpful in coaching when someone just highlights where you constantly want to self-abandon. And that's where I found coaching for myself personally so powerful, is I will create a story because I intuitively or maybe unintuitively want to protect myself. So I'm like, oh, I don't need to say that to that person. That's just me and my ego. And I don't need to tell that person what I think. Or maybe if I try X, Y, and Z with this partner, like we can work it out. And we don't really allow ourselves to truly dial into what feels true and just know that there's no such thing as a wrong decision, but it is really wrong when we don't make a decision, right? And so we can only ever learn when we're moving forward. So the main thing I wanted to kind of highlight here is your ability to now choose so much more truth over ignorance, so much more truth over becoming a recluse and orchestrating your life around what's comfortable. Like, it's been a real blessing to watch you flourish into someone that is committed to truth, right? Because you came into this committed to depth, not knowing that the depth that you were searching for was actually whatever is true for Tori.
Yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think as well, when you're starting to learn to try and to tap into your intuition, which we all have when we're younger, and we lose that ability throughout our lives, you do struggle to trust. Like, I've built a life on 29 years of using my mind instead of my intuition and my heart. So it's a big process. Trying to utilize those things and trust that. And so being able to work with someone who can shine the light on that area is so helpful.
So true. And I would be doing my work and the work of Mama Gina a total disservice if I didn't say to anyone watching this video, get yourself a copy of the book Pussy. Like, it really helps women dial back into their inner creatrix and the part of them that is actually the compass for truth, right? And we've been so conditioned to not use that part of ourselves anymore. So yeah, Tori and I went on a little bit of a journey with that book and the ethos behind a lot of that as well, which I believe has been really helpful for you.
I'm like, highly recommend, y'all.
Take it, show it to the world, buy it for everyone. Yeah. You've probably done like a bunch of do-it-yourself courses, and you've done, programs and free challenges and bits and pieces from lots of other people. What's your relationship to actually investing a significant portion of money, which is subjective to each person, into yourself, rather than like, that's a house deposit, that's a new car, that's renovations? It's like, that's actually for me.
There was two parts. Like, I feel like there's this hesitation that you have, which just naturally comes out as doubt sometimes, because you do kind of berate yourself a little bit or question yourself. But for me, I think 95% of it just felt right. And the way that it was just so synchronized in terms of how we got to work together just gave me the confidence that I was doing the right thing. But along that process and everything, I've just realized that literally the best thing you can do for your life is invest in yourself. And you can buy any kind of like external product or whatever that you think is going to make you happy, or that you think is going to make you glow from the inside out, or whatever. And I'm like, I swear to God, working on yourself and investing in yourself is the one thing. And I feel like if it's the right timing for you, it's always going to work out.
Exactly. And I'd love to know how long you knew about me or had followed me prior to going, hey, I'm going to book a call. Let's do this.
I'm actually going to tell the story because it was just so funny how it happened. So I had deleted Instagram for such a long time. The first day I downloaded it again and went back on, there was a post from an acquaintance who had worked with yourself. And I literally just clicked on your name because I'd been thinking for about a month, I would love to maybe work with a life coach. It had just popped into my brain and I didn't think much of it. And so I literally followed you and then got out of your profile. I didn't even go further in that day. And probably 2 days later, you messaged me, inboxed me and said, I'm doing a 5-day free challenge. So, whatever, jump on board. And so I was like, told my best friend, I'm like, hey, there's this 5-day free challenge. Let's do it. We're in lockdown. Like, let's go for it. Did it. And then, so that was like 5 days after that. And then I think 2 or 3 days later, we had a discovery call and I booked you in one-on-one. So it was literally like a 7 to 10 day turnaround from when I followed you.
Honestly, you're basically like the best success story I could have had. It's like, the path of least resistance is Tori Nichols. How good is this?
Yeah.
And now you're in another 20-week container with me as well. So the journey continues.
Which again, I was literally thinking to myself, I'm so not done with Brooke. Like, I'm not done. And then like literally that session, you were like, so what I'm thinking is this. And I was like, done, sign me up. Like, don't even have to think about it.
And what I love about that is that it didn't take much brain power for me either. I was like, okay, so bunch of my past clients all experience all experiencing the same thing. Common goal is X. Send out an email, who's keen, and you guys all signed up. And it was like, well, shit, everyone's ready to roll. This is great.
That's awesome. I love that.
Why me? Why would you recommend working with me over anyone else? What was it that has been even more of a positive affirmation for you around my work?
Yeah, obviously, like we have spoken about before, like you said, you attract clients that are the right frequency that you can help and everything like that. So obviously I think that there's a bigger thing at play than just like, you know, my decisions and all of that kind of stuff. But for me, on like a personal note, I definitely think that I've attracted you as a coach because I needed the way that you work with your clients or with me is exactly what I needed. Like I needed your energy to take action, to actually look inside deep enough to be real, like with myself and with you. So I think your energy was kind of exactly what I needed to be able to open up and get real, literally.
Let's get specific. Like, what are some things that I do that make you go, oh God, but it's like, okay, actually, thank you, Brooke. I did not want that right now, but it's worked out.
Totally. I mean, you would just, there'd be times when I'd give you an answer and you're like, I'm going to go deeper on that. And you'd let me sit there and let me be uncomfortable, which I normally would never let myself do. I'd be like, bye, like, hee, like, and just laugh through it. And you were literally like, I know that you laugh through all these things normally, but I'm just going to sit here and we'll just be uncomfortable for a minute. And I was like, what? It's like literally exactly what I needed, like just to be like woken up a little bit, you know? So I feel like, I don't know what the correct just like word is for this, because it's not blunt. It's not that. It's like, I don't know, you can assert yourself. I really can't think of the correct word to how to describe the way that you work with me, but it's exactly what I needed.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be a correct word. I don't think there is such a thing, right?
You know what I mean?
It's
though.
just,
it's like
I brooked you.
You won't hold back with me. Like, and you are like, I'm going to be real and I expect you to be real, basically.
Exactly. I'm like, I hold myself to a high standard of integrity as much as possible. And so then if I see my clients self-abandoning, or they're like, oh, like, nah, I'm just going to sit back on the fence here. I'm like, all right, come on, let me help you off the fence. Like, we can do this together. It's all good.
Yes, exactly right. That's exactly right. And then also like on the other side of that is just, of course, so much support and encouragement and like the cheerleader vibes as well, which is awesome. So it's like that really good balance. Yeah.
Great. I feel so good. Thank you. What do you think have been your biggest takeaways? So what do you think that you're going to take from the work we've had together? I know we've got another 20 weeks, but just from this 3-month one-on-one journey, what are you taking into your life going forward that you're like, actually, this is a non-negotiable for me now? Not necessarily a tool, but actually maybe a way of being too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Definitely the invest in yourself, work on yourself, understand yourself, that whole piece. And therefore you'll show up in your own world in an authentic way and attract the best things towards you. So I think that without a doubt, definitely 100% for me, like, are you choosing truth or ignorance today is like massive. And that's like on a personal note for sure.
What about your relationship to meditation, journaling, nature, like anything like that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, without a doubt. That's like, it's probably just the philosophy behind it, all of that. It's like the backbone of it all, really, isn't it? Actually, that's probably the better word. Like, you can do all the inner child work and you can do all the like shadow work and all the things. But if you're not doing like your basics, like your meditation, journaling, being out in nature, meditation, journaling, being out in nature, like just drill it home.
How many times do you reckon I've said that?
And also like, okay, cool. Like, I've had this discovery, I've had this realization, I've had this. Okay, cool. Go meditate, go journal, and go for a walk in nature. And it's like, again, are you kidding me? Give me something new. Yeah. You do it to like get the insight. And then once you've had the insight, do it to integrate the insight.
So it's basically like, how does one live their life in a very simple way? Get in nature, meditate, journal,
Yes.
on your discoveries.
Yes.
Truth.
Yes.
Oh my God, revolution.
And that's probably the other massive thing for me too, actually, like that I will take away is like how important obviously the actioning side is, which is something that I really struggled with before working with you. Like I could think, conceptualize, come up with ideas, thoughts, like all the things. And unless you're actually taking action and communicating and standing up for yourself and showing up, like nothing's going to change. So that's probably the other thing I'm still learning.
I remember what I said to you. I was literally like, look, Tori, I know you're super fucking intelligent. Like, I know that you intellectualize and know pretty much everything I'm going to teach you because you've read a gazillion books and you'd have a yoga practice and you do breath work and you are doing all the things. You know all of this. But the one missing puzzle piece for most people that come and work with me is like, can someone just hold my hand? Can someone just tell me that it's okay to have these feelings and this intuitive nudge that I don't know and I don't trust? And then as soon as we allow ourselves to be supported and held, it's like the universe just accelerates shit at 100 miles an hour, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, without a doubt, 100%. And I think being able to voice that with someone as well, because the other thing is you can sit in your own head and think about things for like months and months and months on end. But if you voice it to someone who holds space for you, you're right. It's like all of a sudden you're like, I have to have that conversation. I have to do that. I have to do that action. Like I can't hold on anymore because as soon as you've verbalized it out and had that mirror, it's like, okay, got to go do that thing now. Can't let that happen anymore. I'm over it, you know?
What would you say, Tori, happens or has happened in the past when you've actually had a really honest realization, you dialed into your journaling, like before we even worked together, you maybe read it in a book and you're like, God, that lands for me. What happened in the past that sort of stopped you from taking the action, or what happened in the past that made the action feel kind of like totally unachievable?
Now in hindsight, looking back again, just fear, like fear of the unknown, fear of not being in control, fear of judgment, fear of everything. And also I never understood like the stories you tell yourself in your head, like the things you make up, like it's just not real. It's not real. Like your worst case scenario is not real. And all the things that you think are going to happen if you take action on your desires probably aren't going to happen. And even if they do, you're fine. Like you're all good. You're not going to die. Like you got this.
You are not your thoughts.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Well, thanks for being here, T. It's been a pleasure. And as you know, we've already had our first couple of calls in our new group and it's fucking awesome. And I'm so lit up by it. So yay for the rest of the journey.
Can't wait. So good.